We focus so much on trying to get things out, but we also need things from right across the world. And I think that's very much the kind of opportunities we have to talk about here today. This fact that we do have an independent trade policy. Unfortunately, as kind of Victoria stated, there are the potential for quite large barriers with the EU, but there's also opportunities to minimise those barriers and trade in new and different ways through recognising standards and reducing tariffs. There's also huge opportunities when it comes to the rest of the world, and that's really where this kind of discussion about global champions has to take us, about things where the UK has companies that are exporting to the world, benefiting the British economy, doing so from Jaguar Land Rover and BP to Johnny Walker. These companies are global brand names that have the opportunity to really I suppose, particularly in the context of the global economy expanding outside of the EU and right across the world, expand their presence significantly, and that has a multitude of economic benefits, as kind of already been discussed by Andy. We know that the more you trade, the more you can specialise, the inevitable swapping of information and innovation that comes from that, the more competitive markets that eventuate. And the fact that the UK economy, comparatively to somewhere like Germany, is actually less open and less trading globally is a strike against our name as a country. So what we can do to expand that, and I think that then it works both ways when it comes to foreign policy. Trade in many ways is foreign policy, and foreign policy is trade. And when we were kind of doing our submission, I was looking at where the UK is putting its diplomatic posts. Not only does the UK have moderately fewer diplomatic posts than countries like Germany and France, Italy and Spain, we also have a highly uneven diplomatic footprint, disproportionately likely to have diplomatic posts in Europe, of course, but relatively few across South America and Asia, where you've got massive populations. And perhaps this is to be expected to some extent. Diplomats do like to go to places with warm weather and stable countries, but obviously to well represent our foreign and our strategic interests, that's not necessarily a good idea. And I think that's inevitably going to have an impact on our ability to support our global trade, especially since embassies often provide expert advice on local markets and practical advice. Although, of course, ultimate responsibility to enter a market remains with the business, and they're going to be the ones who are going to have to figure out the business culture and the market characteristics and the appropriateness for their product of going into a new market. It does seem to me that the embassies and the consulates also have a role in terms of putting those connections, particularly ensuring kind of a stable business environment, both formally through those trade agreements, which provide that sense of security, but also informally on the ground. And then, of course, building those relationships has spin-off effects as businesses do help transmit British values and appropriate business practices, driving kind of a freer, more prosperous world, driving things like better environmental outcomes, better outcomes for labour rights and quality of jobs. So I think there's really big opportunities here when it comes to Britain's global standing, when it comes to trade opportunities.